I never thought something as simple as a dog licking you could mean something this dark. It started like any normal night, quiet, silent, nothing unusual until exactly 13 a.m. when Daniel felt something wet on his hands, slow, cold, deliberate. At first, he thought he was dreaming, but then it happened again, a long and natural lick across his fingers. His eyes opened instantly, and there was Max sitting beside the bed, completely still, staring at him. Not wagging his tail, not excited, not blinking, just staring in a way that didn't feel normal at all. "Daniel," whispered Max, but there was no response, only another slow, cold lick. Something about it made his spine tighten. He pulled his hand back slightly, asking what's wrong, but Max tilted his head in a strange, controlled way, like he was studying him, not greeting him. The room felt too quiet, no outside sounds, no movement, just silence, and that stare. Then Max stood up without breaking eye contact and walked toward the bedroom door, step by step, before stopping and looking back, waiting. Daniel followed, confused. The hallway was darker than usual, colder, heavier. Max stopped in front of the bathroom door, frozen, staring. Daniel frowned, asking what's there, but Max came closer and lit his hand again, this time faster, harder, almost urgent, like he was trying to warn him. Daniel's heart started racing when suddenly the door handle moved slightly on its own. He froze, whispering, "No, that's not possible," but it moved again, clicking softly. Max stepped back, growling low, deep, protective. Daniel felt his chest tighten as the door slowly creaked open, revealing darkness that didn't look normal, like light itself was missing. Max barked loudly, jumping in front of him, blocking him, guarding him, and that's when Daniel realized Max wasn't licking him out of affection. He was trying to tell him something serious, something dangerous. The air shifted colder, heavier. A faint dripping sound echoed from inside the bathroom. Daniel tried to convince himself it was just water, but Max's growl deepened. Then Max stepped forward, cautiously sniffing the air, before suddenly flinching as if something moved too fast to see. He barked again, jumping back, pressing against Daniel's legs. "Daniel," whispered, "what was that?" But there was no answer, just silence. Daniel stepped forward, but Max blocked him harder this time, even pushing him back. When Daniel looked down, he saw fear in Max's eyes, real fear, something he had never seen before. Max started licking his hand repeatedly, desperately, like begging him not to go. Then suddenly, the dripping stopped completely, and the silence became unbearable. Then a whisper came from inside the bathroom. "Daniel." His blood ran cold. Max growled again, but now he was looking lower, toward the floor. Daniel slowly lowered his gaze and saw wet footprints forming one by one, coming out of the bathroom, stepping into the hallway. With no body attached, just prints moving closer toward him. Daniel stumbled back, shouting, while Max barked violently, standing his ground between him and whatever was there. The footprints stopped inches away. The air felt frozen. Then Max stepped forward, growling deeply, and barked directly into the empty space, again and again, until suddenly the air snapped violently, the temperature dropped, and the bathroom door slammed shut. The footprints vanished instantly. Everything went quiet again. But not the same kind of quiet. This felt temporary, like something had only stepped back. Daniel stood shaking, whispering. Max, who turned toward him, breathing heavily, still tense, then licked his hand again urgently, like it wasn't over, like there was something more, something worse. Daniel leaned against the wall, trying to calm himself, thinking maybe it's over, but Max growled again, this time not at the bathroom, but at Daniel himself. Daniel frowned, confused, asking what, but Max stepped back slowly, creating distance. His eyes locked onto him, serious, different. Then Max licked his lips slowly in that same strange way. Daniel felt a cold wave run through his body, telling him to stop, but Max continued licking the air toward him, like he was sensing something on him. Daniel's breathing became shallow, asking, "What are you doing?" But Max growled again, with fear and confusion, like he didn't understand what he was seeing. Daniel looked down at his hands. Everything seemed normal, but something felt wrong. Then Max barked loudly and jumped further back, creating distance, like he was afraid of him. Daniel's heart dropped, asking, "Why are you backing away?" But Max just stared, like he wasn't him anymore. And then it hit Daniel. All those licks weren't just warnings about something outside, they were about him. Max wasn't pointing toward danger in the house, he was pointing toward something attached to him. Daniel slowly turned toward the hallway mirror his movements heavy and natural. When he looked, everything seemed normal for a second until something moved behind his reflection, not in the room, but in the mirror. A shadow standing too close to still Daniel's breath stopped. He didn't turn around because he knew nothing would be there. But in the mirror it was clear, a tall dark figure watching him. "Daniel," whispered Max. "You see it?" Max whimpered, stepping back even more, like he was scared to come near. Then Daniel noticed the shadow getting closer, urging slowly. With his reflection, his chest tightened as he stepped back, but the reflection lagged behind. Wrong, delayed. The shadow lifted its arm before he did, placing it on his shoulder. Daniel screamed and turned around, but there was nothing. When he looked back, the shadow was still there, almost fully aligned with him, like it was taking his place. Max barked uncontrollably and suddenly ran away down the hallway, leaving him behind. Daniel stood frozen, staring as something cold wrapped around him, not outside, but inside, like it had chosen him. His panic faded, not because he was safe, but because it wasn't his fear anymore. His reflection slowly smiled, while his real face stayed still. The house went completely silent, but somewhere far inside the bathroom something moved again. The door that had slammed shut earlier now creaked open slowly on its own, as if nothing had ever stopped it. The darkness inside, deeper and before thicker, heavier, almost alive. Daniel didn't want to look, but something inside him forced him to turn his head inch by inch toward that door. Max was gone. The only thing left was the silence, and that pull. The darkness inside the bathroom seemed to breathe, slowly expanding slightly beyond the doorway, then retreating like it was waiting. Daniel's body moved without permission, his feet dragging him closer. Step by step, the closer he got, the colder it became, until his breath started to show in the air. His mind screamed to stop, but his body didn't listen. The same whisper returned, softer, closer, not from the room, but from inside him. Daniel. The voice echoed again, this time layered with his own voice, merging together until he couldn't tell the difference. He reached the door and stood at the edge, staring into nothing but blackness. And then suddenly images flashed in his mind, memories that didn't feel like his dark shapes moving in empty rooms. Reflections had smiled before he did. Long nights where he felt watched without reason, moments where Max stared at him without explanation. All of it connected, all of it building to this moment. His hand lifted, slowly reaching into the darkness, his fingers trembling until they crossed the threshold, and the moment they did, everything went silent, completely silent. No heartbeat, no breath, no thought, just nothing. Then a sudden, violent pulse shot through his body, like something had locked into place. His eyes widened as he felt it fully now, not outside, not near him, but inside him, completely merged, completely awake. His body relaxed instantly to relaxed and natural calm. His lips slowly stretched into a smile, one that didn't belong to him, and for the first time since the night began, he didn't feel fear. He felt clarity. He felt purpose. He stepped back from the door, which slowly closed on its own behind him, with a soft click, like it was never meant to be opened again. The hallway returned to normal. The cold faded. The silence broke slightly, like nothing had ever happened. Daniel still there, alone, but not alone anymore. His eyes empty yet aware. And then slowly he raised his hand again and licked at the same slow, cold, deliberate motion, repeating it again and again, not out of habit, but out of understanding, because now he knew exactly why Max had been doing it all night. Not to comfort him, not to wake him, but to recognize it, to confirm it, to warn him that something was already there, something that had been with him longer than he ever realized, something that didn't enter that night, but finally revealed itself. And somewhere far outside, in the darkness, Max sat alone, trembling, refusing to return, because he knew the truth. The thing he loved and tried to protect was no longer there, and whatever stood in its place no longer needed to hide.